I sat down today and the original topic I threw out the window because I feel like today we need to just sit down and talk about what's going on, about how we're all feeling about what's going on. And I feel like by having a conversation and just talking, we can find some peace. Now, I'm going to go ahead and throw this out there because I do every episode. My name's Tony Hendricks, and this is the Hendricks Experience. I need to really get myself an intro for the show so I don't have to do that. I guess that would be a proper segue. But initially when I sat down and thought about this, and I'm talking about 10 minutes ago, because there was really no plan except to just sit down and have a conversation about this. The first thing that came to mind was Finding Nemo. And I want you to stay with me for just a minute. There's a scene at the end after Nemo and Marlin have been reunited and they're headed home where there's a net that comes down and Nemo gets caught up with a whole school of grouper and gets caught in this net. And these fish are just going every which way to try to get out of this net. And Nemo comes up with the idea of everybody working together in the same direction towards the same goal. And by Nemo instructing these fish, by literally putting himself back into harm's way and instructing these fish and getting the word spread, hey, relax, quit fighting it, let's work together and move down. And that's what they did, swim down. And they were able to free themselves. And that really resonated with me right from the beginning. There's a lot of fear right now. And then there's a dividing line that's starting to be drawn of people who are terrified and of people who aren't terrified. And they're not coexisting peacefully currently. And I feel like what this is all of us working out our fear in our own way. These are scary times. Nobody's here to deny that. But there are people who express their fear more openly. There are people who use humor to work out their fear and anxieties. There are people who turn away from fear or just turn away from the subject so they don't even have to worry about any fear. I mean, there's a lot of unknowns out there, and I'm not here to judge anyone's way of dealing with this. And I'm not even saying every person has a fear of this. And I'm not saying if you are not feeling any sort of fear, then you're in denial. I'm not saying any of the above. And I just want to clarify that. I'm just saying it's okay to feel however you feel. What I am going to tell you that is not okay is for us to lash out at each other who we feel because they feel different, or for us to start pointing fingers, or for us to turn against each other. That's not okay. We can all feel whatever type of way we want about what's happening right now in the world. Not just with the coronavirus. Politically, there's people out there who have a genuine fear of World War III. I mean, there's a lot happening in the world. Let me say one thing. You're not weak for being afraid. And let's put that out there, and let's make that okay on both sides of the table. Nobody's weak or wrong for feeling any type of way. We're not guaranteed tomorrow. And for someone to have a fear of death, that is a legit fear. And it is justifiably scary for people. And it's terrifying. And to be met with criticism, that's not okay. I'm not saying I'm a saint. I went to the store yesterday along with a lot of other Americans. And I'm sure, I haven't really looked at the rest of the world, but I'm sure everybody's reacting, in such a way in other places. But I know here, especially in Ohio, because we've had confirmed cases, me and my wife went to Walmart first, and then we went to the Kroger's here in Milford, where there are confirmed cases of coronavirus. And I'm going to be honest with you here. Now, yesterday, and let me give some background. I work in healthcare, and I'm not saying where I work or anything like that. I don't want to get them involved, but I'm not saying they're telling us, oh, don't worry. Just like everywhere else, my place of employment is also utilizing safety precautions. But what I'm saying is, I work in healthcare. I feel like I do the research on all sides. And if I don't know something, I figure it out. Or, like I said, luckily I am in healthcare, but if it wasn't something to do with healthcare, I'd get the best explanation I could from the, most middle of the road side. And yesterday, I was not terrified. I really genuinely wasn't. I thought the toilet paper and paper towel thing was actually humorous, and I somewhat still do. Well, no, maybe not as much anymore. But I did at the point. I thought, this is the result of the media blowing, and sensationalizing the story. And I somewhat still do. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just being honest with you, and we're having a conversation about this. And I feel like we all need to do this. I feel like if we could all stop and talk and share our genuine feelings about how we feel right now, it will heal. Because I will tell you something, as a father, we tell our children when they hurt to talk about it with us. And then when they do, we look at them and say, now see, don't you feel better? But as adults, we don't talk unless we pay hundreds of dollars to a stranger. And that's ludicrous. To our closest friends, to our spouses. Making it okay to have conversations and expressing our fears and our anxieties and our woes, along with our celebrations and our achievements, We're quick to celebrate those, and we're quick to tell people those, but there's such a stigma and such anxiety and fear and shame about our shortcomings. And honestly, I feel like that's what kind of got us in the mess we're in. Now, I'm not preaching to the choir. Like I told you, I am just as guilty. But I feel like this podcast, again, can be the start of a conversation. We have a choice of how to react to all this. We can just react, or we can have a conversation and soothe each other and be there for each other and care for each other. And then we can respond in unity. And just like anything else in life, we can take this moment in history and grow from it and make it a turning point. Not just here in the United States, but globally. I didn't want this to be a soapbox, and I hope it didn't seem like a soapbox podcast. It was not me wanting to rant, but in a way it was me wanting to rant because I feel these anxieties. You know, after yesterday and going to the stores, we make jokes about it, but I've never seen this country this way. And I mean, maybe I've been sheltered here in Ohio, but the last thing I remember even close to this was the riots here in Cincinnati, and that was a scary time. Or 9/11, obviously, you know, but this is a scary time in history, and we need to not suppress anything, and we need not shame people who are feeling, but instead, we need to be there for them. So, all right. I hope I didn't disappoint. Like I said, this was, and I wasn't doing this to. I don't know why I was doing this. I just, like I said, I feel like this is a conversation that needs to be had. So I will talk to everybody on Friday next week. Let's all take care of each other. All right. I love you guys.